Try to praise the mutilated world. Remember June's long days and wild strawberries, drops of rosé wine, the nettles that methodically overgrow the abandoned homesteads of exiles. You must praise the mutilated world. You watch the stylish yachts and ships. One of them had a long trip ahead of it, while salty oblivion awaited others. You've seen the refugees going nowhere. You've heard the executioners sing joyfully. You should praise the mutilated world. Remember the moments when we were together in a white room and the curtain fluttered. Return in thought to the concert where music flared. You gathered acorns in the park in autumn, and leaves eddied over the earth's scars. Praise the mutilated world, and the gray feather a thrush lost, and the gentle light that strays and vanishes and returns. So getting a comfortable seat. And just fading into this space where the walls begin to widen. The ceiling feels as if it's rising. And all the while, you're more grounded on the earth. Your feet flat on the floor. Your hands on your lap, relaxed in that pose of receiving. And then I can feel it all assuming this natural pose of ease. The first thing that goes is my belly. It's the softening of the belly. That's where I hold all my defenses. And that's where the body, for me, begins to revolt. And then the heart, the drawbridge comes down. All the guards go home. And then the shoulders. You let them fall and then let them fall again. Even now, as I'm leading this, I feel them falling halfway. And so you have to let them fall again. And then the neck, softening the neck. And if you're able to just lengthen it by a millimeter. And as you do that, just straighten your back as best you can, not forcing it, not into any danger zone or overstretching. Just moving a little bit from that slumped comfort zone into a more challenging zone, where it's slightly more erect. And then softening all the muscles of the face. Around the jaw and around the eyes and the forehead. You can even kind of feel your body saying, what's happening here? Even the top of your head, that place where the fontanelle used to be. And that's when you can achieve this conduit between the heart and the head, where that line of breath, that tube between the heart and the head, is one organ called chitta. It's where the Venn diagram of feeling and thinking are one thing. And then just lengthening the breath, if you're able to 4 counts in, with a little pause at the top, and then 5 counts out. And the last couple of breaths, just softening everything again. You might feel your shoulders have begun to tighten, or your belly. Try to Praise the Mutilated World by Adam Zagajewski and translated by Claire Cavanaugh. Try to praise the mutilated world. Remember June's long days, the wild strawberries, drops of rosé wine, the nettles that methodically overgrow the abandoned homesteads of exiles. You must praise the mutilated world. You watch the stylish yachts and ships. One of them had a long trip ahead of it, while salty oblivion awaited others. You've seen the refugees going nowhere. You've heard the executioners sing joyfully. You should praise the mutilated world. Remember the moments when we were together in a white room and the curtain fluttered. Return in thought to the concert where music flared. You gathered acorns in the park in autumn, and leaves eddied over the earth's stars. Praise the mutilated world, and the gray feather a thrush lost, and the gentle light that strays and vanishes and returns. This poem, by its nature, doesn't need a lot of conversation. In fact, it's asking us to fall into a place where the source of language, if language is the ruins of consciousness, then the source of language, that impulse to connect, is the vast civilization, the lost place that we can only translate badly. But talking about this poem is, I think, vital right now because it brings up some difficult things. How do we write poetry in a world that is burning? How do we talk about poetry? How do we enjoy poetry in a world that's burning? Significant that Zagajewski published this poem in the New Yorker just after 9/11. So he was born in what was then called Lvov, and which is now Lviv. But soon after his birth in 1945, he had to leave Lvov and go to Western Poland. And Lvov, for him, Lviv now, became a kind of lost civilization in which the rest of the world was just ruins. But this kind of Lvov of the soul for Zagajewski went with him everywhere. He carried it with him everywhere, the way in Invisible Cities, Marco Polo carries Venice everywhere. He says in that book that every city he describes is Venice. So in a way, every city that Zagajewski describes is this lost Lvov. He wrote many books. He died in 2021 at 75. He wrote a beautiful book called Tremor, which is still available, and he translated that with Claire Cavanaugh. Just an incredible book. And the centerpiece of the book is called To Go to Lvov. So it appeared after 9/11, and it kind of marked this mutilated world that we continue to live in, this kind of exile from a world we used to know. And the poem itself is filled with scars and nettles which sting and sunken ships. But it's finding its way back to that source, that silence that he's trying to praise. He's talking about that white room when the curtains fluttered. I remember this day out in the Czech Republic where I lived, where we were sitting all together. My friend Stan had brought me to a family gathering, and everyone's sitting against the walls, and they were drinking tea from small teacups and eating little cakes. And I couldn't say anything. I hadn't learned Czech yet. And so I had to sit there. It was excruciating for me, but I had to sit there in the silence in this white room with the same curtains he's describing kind of fluttering in the window. And it was forcing myself into that challenge zone of not speaking, because as an American, my tendency is to just blurt and to try to fill the silence because the silence is somehow painful, reminiscently painful. So I couldn't blurt. I couldn't do anything. I had to sit with the rest of them and drink my tea and eat my small cake. And I remember that scene so well. It stayed with me, the way that Kay Ryan describes the silence in cities as little shark's teeth, million-year-old shark's teeth that we might discover in parks. She says noise gets its zest from the small shark tooth sized fragments of rest in it. Noise gets its zest from the small shark tooth sized fragments of zest in it. So, this silence that we enter is evidence of a lost world, and it's painful at first. It's hard to go there. The way meditation can be hard. We put it off because entering it means that we have to recalibrate somehow and remember something that goes deeper than this everyday world that we get so caught up in. Meditation for me can sometimes be embarrassing, going back into it and remembering what the truth is. But when we get there and we find that silence, we achieve this sympathetic resonance with silence. The way a bell can turn a table into a bell or a window into a bell, how that ringing can reverberate against other objects that aren't bells. I can resonate silence. This is discussed by an incredible writer named Robert Sardello in his book called Silence. So let's hear the poem one more time and go back into that resonant space. Try to praise the mutilated world. Try to praise the mutilated world. Remember June's long days and wild strawberries, drops of rosé wine, the nettles that methodically overgrow the abandoned homesteads of exiles. You must praise the mutilated world. You watch the stylish yachts and ships. One of them had a long trip ahead of it, while salty oblivion awaited others. You've seen the refugees going nowhere. You've heard the executioners sing joyfully. You should praise the mutilated world. Remember the moments when we were together in a white room and the curtain fluttered. Return in thoughts to the concert where music flared. You gathered acorns in the park in autumn, and leaves eddied over the earth's scars. Praise the mutilated world and the gray feather a thrush lost, and the gentle light that strays and vanishes and returns. I'm just falling back into it, feeling your feet on the floor and the walls widen and the ceiling rise. You can turn any subway car, any room into a cathedral. And straightening the back a little, creating that conduit between the heart and the head. Softening the belly. And then letting the shoulders fall. And letting the jaw soften. Somehow focusing your awareness on that space, the center of your forehead. Zagajewski is asking us to praise the mutilated world, even though we know what happens in it. The executioners sing joyfully. Some boats never make their destination. He's asking us to do what Calvino asks, which is to make space for what's not inferno. To find the little shark tooth, the ancient, ancient evidence of that original silence. Ram Dass said once that his best meditation ever happened while standing next to a jackhammer on a corner in New York. This mutilation can sometimes facilitate our needing to go deeper than we would otherwise. Deepening the breath, the 4 counts in. Little pause at the top. And 5 counts out. And then as we do, a little ABCD meditation. A for as it is. Whether you're standing by a jackhammer or whether you have anxieties and worries, rather than push them away, just extract and step back. If you can see your own 5-year-old face in the mirror, I can still see that face. I can see myself staring into the mirror. If you can extract and step back from your worries and anxieties and look at them with the care and the curiosity of that 5-year-old face, in this moment, things are as they are. They might change. but things are as they are. And then be, just to be with them. To not run away, to choose to look longer rather than to look away, I like to say. That's one of Pema Chodron's definitions of the challenge zone. To be willing to stay. And then C, to know that changes will come. Whatever this is, it will change. It's one of the few things that the ruins of language can get right. And then D, don't judge it. Don't judge yourself for how you feel about it. If you're not able to extract and look at it, or if you do have to avert your eyes. William Blake says the eye altering alters all in The Mental Traveler. I love this because alter in English can also mean turning into an altar. At least the homonym. The eye altering alters all. Don't judge it. Turn it into an altar. Try to praise the mutilated world. Try to praise the mutilated world. Remember June's long days and wild strawberries, drops of rosé wine. The nettles that methodically overgrow the abandoned homesteads of exiles. You must praise the mutilated world. You watch the stylish yachts and ships. One of them had a long trip ahead of it, while salty oblivion awaited others. You've seen the refugees going nowhere. You've heard the executioners sing joyfully. You should praise the mutilated world. Remember the moments when we were together in a white room and the curtain fluttered. Return in thought to the concert where music flared. You gathered acorns in the park in autumn, and leaves eddied over the earth's scars. Praise the mutilated world, and the gray feather a thrush lost, and the gentle light that strays and vanishes and returns.